Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and what a Thursday afternoon we have to talk about today, because we have a right random concoction of stories this afternoon. We've got Desmond's millionaire pals telling us to shut up. We have a new badge that's been leaked for Celtic going into the 2026-27 campaign, and we're even being linked with Raheem Sterling. So a right good variety of stories to go over this afternoon. Some better sourced than others. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. We're very close to the 53,000 subscriber mark, so let's try and hit that coming up to the game against Partick Thistle this weekend. We have a lot to talk about today, so bear with me as I go through it all. And let's start with that story that I spoke about in the intro in relation to a rebrand heading into next season. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ryan, we're barely into the 25-26 campaign. Why on earth are we already talking about next season? Why are we talking about 2026 when it's not even time to bring in the bells on Hogmanay? Well, that's because today a leak came out disclosing information that Celtic are set to have a special rebrand for the 2026-27 campaign. Now, very quickly, you might have realised this season that Celtic went through a slight rebranding process when the badge changed from the classic silhouette, just plain green and white logo, to a full colour version, including green, white and black, the version of the badge that we were used to seeing on the actual kits themselves. This was a very quietly done rebrand, mostly because it wasn't that different. If you put both badges side by side, it's effectively the same badge with some coloured changes. That's all it is. But next year, we are set to have a full-on rebrand, of course, to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Lisbon Lions. So this is the logo that Celtic will have on their shirt and as the official club crest for next season to celebrate the 60th anniversary of that famous night in Lisbon in 1967. This, of course, comes after the same kind of celebrations almost 10 years ago when we had the 50th anniversary kits and crest, and then before that, a decade before that, when we had the 40th anniversary kits and crest. But this one is the leaked badge. Footy Headlines leaked this morning. It looks as though that will be it. Footy Headlines rarely wrong when it comes to this sort of information. I must admit, I quite like it. It's going down the gold route. It looks as though Celtic will have a gold kit, or a gold inspired kit next season. Some gold trimmings on the famous green and white, and what will be a nice callback to, of course, the memories of 1967. So in the article that was wrote this morning, Footy Headlines said they can exclusively leak the special crest that will be used on the Celtic kits for the 2026-27 season. The logo has been created to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the club's legendary 1967 European Cup victory. Of course, some images of the badge in comparison to the usual crest, and a wonderful touch that pays tribute to the location of the final. The text around it reads 60th Aniversario, which is of course Portuguese for 60th anniversary. So yeah, we all know the details, we all know the history and the significance of the occasion, and hopefully it will be a crest and a set of kits that comes alongside it that's befitting of celebrating such an occasion. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it all turns out, because the last two, as I've already mentioned, were stunning collections of kits. In fact, two of the best collection of kits, especially the home kits, that we've ever seen at the club. Now, the one thing you might have noticed is that the celebration year, the celebratory year that we're going through here, has actually been brought forward. If you go back to the first time we done it for the 40th anniversary, the kits and the special crest was done for the 2007-08 campaign. You then fast forward a decade for the 50th anniversary, it was done for the 2017-18 campaign, and of course this time round we're talking about doing it for the 2026-27 campaign. So instead of actually celebrating the proper anniversary, we are celebrating it exactly 60 years on. Of course, there's that whole debate that always goes on about what the actual anniversary is, if it's 60 years later, if it's 61 years later. I know that's a debate amongst people. Here, I'm not here to dispute facts. We're celebrating it 60 years on exactly this time from the exact season it happened, 66-67, and I'm looking forward to seeing the kits. It's, I think, a real open goal for Adidas here to actually put together a trio of really classy, simple and historic kits, just kits that touch into the history of the club, and I'm hoping that they actually do us justice this time, because I've been a very vocal kind of critic of Adidas's work since becoming Celtic's kit suppliers, and I'm hoping they can get it right this time. But you know what's going to happen? They're finally going to get it right. They're going to produce 3 banging kits when we're all falling out with the club. It would just be standard, typical. we'll keep up with all the details as the year goes on, but it's still a long way away. And hopefully by then we're all feeling in a better mood about buying kits from the club. And talking about our relationship with the club, things aren't going to get any better if Dermot Desmond's rich pals keep coming out and telling Celtic fans to calm down, because that's exactly what happened over the past 24 hours as former Celtic non-executive board member Willie Hawkey came out to tell Celtic fans to do just that and calming down, because these are the sort of headlines that emerged yesterday, that Dermot Desmond's ally has told Celtic fans to back off and be careful what they wish for after 15 years of being spoilt. I mean, we've heard it all before. I actually try my best not to get too drawn in by these sorts of things because they are just typical. It's what I expect of these people that have worked with Dermot Desmond in the past or currently still work with Dermot Desmond. They're of course saying what they're A, told to say, or B, want to say in the best interests of the professional relationships. But it's not going to help Dermot Desmond. It's not going to help calm any tensions or ease any tensions within the Celtic support. In fact, these are the sorts of things that just make matters worse. So Willie Hawkey was speaking to PLZ Soccer and talked about the, of course, current climate that exists between the Celtic board and the Celtic supporters. Now, he first spoke about Brendan Rodgers, saying that it looks as though peace is breaking out. I saw Brendan's last press comments. They were good, and it looked as though there's been a bit of healing, so hopefully that is the case. Now, I can't disagree with part of that. It did seem like Brendan Rodgers in that press conference was quick to come out and defend the likes of Michael Nicholson, calling him a good guy. He's been very quick to defend Dermot Desmond as well at times. All part of the job when you're employed by these people, of course. But at the same time, I don't know what, peace that's breaking out he can see. I seen a Brendan Rodgers that sat there as well and called for the resignation of a senior Celtic official that spoke about how that there was a rat at the club. This is the same club that was subject to a leak being put out there in the mainstream press saying that Brendan Rodgers was engineering his exit from the club. That's not peace. If I know peace, that's not that. You know, that clearly there is some bad relationships that exist within Celtic, and we've heard stories about how it can be a toxic place to work at times. That seems to be the situation rearing its head again, that it is a toxic place to work if these are the sorts of things being leaked out to the press. So I can see where Willie Hawkey's trying to come from in relation to maybe the points about Dermot Desmond, but I think we're far away from peace. I don't think we're quite there yet. Anyway, went on to say everybody's disappointed to go out of the Champions League, and in a couple of the performances, but overall, if you think about the 30 years before that and all the hard times, we've actually been spoilt the last 15 years or so. I would just say that Dermot and his involvement with the club has put us where we are. Let's back off a wee bit and keep supporting the team. I'm just fed up being told these things by people who, of course, are in a very different position from the average Celtic supporter. I don't have a personal nor professional opinion of Willie Hawkey. I've never met the man. I've never spoke to the man. I don't know. I'm not in a position to question his love for Celtic Football Club or his position of support for the club, considering he's worked there and he continues to support them now. I'm not in a position to do that. I'm not. But what I am in a position to do is tell people like Willie Hawkey they have no right to tell us to back off. It's very easy for Willie Hawkey and fellow millionaires to say that when they're sitting in their mansions with their millions of pounds and their fancy whiskies and cigars, when the rest of us are spending a good portion of our wages to support this football team. A season book is nothing to Willie Hawkey. In fact, I'd be surprised if he even pays to go to the games. European tickets, going away abroad to watch the team, sort of water off a duck's back to Willie Hawkey. To people like me and to the majority of people watching these videos, that's no simple. £600, £700 for a season book is a lot of fucking money for the average Joe. Money that we could be putting on the table to feed family or to feed ourselves. Money that we could be putting on the table for holidays or fancy clothes or other things. We decide to put it into the club and we deserve to be paid back for that. And I always find it fucking hilarious when millionaires and billionaires come out to fucking lecture us on what we should be saying about the club. I don't care about the fucking success. And I know I'm getting a bit heated here. It's because it's really fucking wound me up. I don't care about the success that Dermot Desmond has put on the table. I care about the success that we should be seeing beyond that, and the success that Dermot Desmond has actively stopped Celtic from getting in the past 10, 20, 30 years because he's been too stingy to put his hand in his pocket. So how dare another millionaire or billionaire or a pal of Dermot Desmond tell me how to display my concern and my thoughts about the club? Absolutely not on. Not on in the slightest. And I'm very passionate about that, and I will continue to be passionate about that. And I know a lot of people who, will continue to lick the boots of Dermot Desmond will be the same people that will lick the boots of Willie Hawkey. Willie Hawkey does not give a shit about me or you. He doesn't. He cares more about Dermot Desmond. So remember that. As I said, I've no professional or personal opinion of the guy. I'm sure that he's a nice enough gentleman, a nice enough fella who probably loves this club. But don't tell Celtic supporters to back off just because everything's rosy for you. We're putting our wages into following this football club, and we want the best for it. And I just think it's ridiculous to be continuously told that, remember the 90s, remember the bad times. We can acknowledge that while also wanting better for the club, the position of the club where we're in just now. Why can't both things be true? Why can't we acknowledge the failings of the past, but acknowledge that we could get better than what we have now? Why does it always have to be, the 90s, the 90s, the 90s? So what? My dad lived through the early 60s when Celtic couldn't win a fucking egg cup. He still wants better from what we see just now. He saw the early 60s and the 90s. So what's stopping us from doing better now? We are supporting the team. The message has always been clear from the Celtic supporters. Back the team, back the manager, sack the ones in charge, sack the board. We've had no questions over our support for the team. And if you continue to put words in the mouths of supporters like that, then that's where the arguments keep popping up. I'm just so fed up of being called spoiled by these people as well. It's the same fucking people every time. Spoiled. I know I'm so lucky to be brought up. I'm 25. I have known nothing but success at Celtic, bar maybe 3 years where Rangers won the league 3 in a row, and bar maybe the COVID season. I've been incredibly lucky. What a return rate that is. I know that I have been spoiled, but my God almighty, in the current climate of Scottish football, that's the bare minimum that we've been achieving. We've achieved nothing beyond that, and that's where we draw the line. We want more for this football club. We're talking about celebrating the 50th anniversary the 60th anniversary of Lisbon next season. Good God, we've not got close since 1970. From the early 70s, we've never been close since. We want to be close again, and I know that's hard, but at least fake some ambition. Doesn't happen at this club, and that's what we're fed up of. I already apologise for the usual suspects who'll be in the comments saying, "What's your language? Stop your swearing. Your language is atrocious." I've said it before. I've said it a million times. It's a YouTube channel. It's not the BBC. It's my YouTube channel. Sometimes I will use animated language, and that's all part of the game. Cheers. Of course, this coming week or so is a big week for Celtic and these members of the board, because we're expecting the annual financial results to come out. And an interesting story broke this afternoon actually about Dermot Desmond, who's apparently in talks to sell £4 billion worth of assets that aren't related to Celtic, by the way. But obviously that's a big week for him. A lot of financial things going on for him. Apparently he's selling shares in his UK nursing group empire. Desmond has owned Barchester Healthcare alongside JP McManus and John Magnier since the early 90s. The company's apparently valued at $4 billion, and he's wanting to sell his shares in it or something like that. Look, I'm not a business guru. I've never claimed to be. It's not what I do this channel for. I do it to talk about the football and the ongoings of the club. What Dermot Desmond does outside Celtic is none of my concern. It's just interesting to see that. A lot of people might try and start putting two and two together, like he's trying to get some other money, or he's maybe going to go and sell his Celtic shares next. Listen, I wouldn't get your hopes up on that. It's not going to happen. But it is interesting to see that he's selling shares elsewhere. Maybe he'll dedicate more time to the club if we're lucky. Wouldn't count on it, but a big week for Dermot Desmond, and of course very interesting to see what happens at this upcoming financial statement release and the AGM that's near. A lot of questions to be asked, and I think fans are only going to be more annoyed after those two events. Right, couple of quick fire stories just to finish up today. I was expecting to give more time to these stories until I started ranting about Dermot Desmond and Willie Hawkey, but Alistair Johnston has gave a very positive update on his injury situation and has stated publicly that he actually expects to be back quicker than the initial return date that was maybe on the cards. He was speaking on a podcast yesterday and he said, "When the injury originally happened, I feared the worst. It's a pretty significant injury, but I'm actually ahead of schedule. Still a long way to go. I'm not really going to put on a timeline on it yet. I'm taking it day by day, but I feel really good. I feel like I'm ready to go back out there and play, but a lot of boxes still need ticked. I'm taking it day by day, but I'm hoping to be back earlier than originally expected. So that's fantastic news for us if he's feeling good, especially. I mean, we don't have a date or anything yet, but if he's feeling good, that's hopefully the first step of a return to the pitch. And if he's got to be back sooner rather than later, hallelujah, we need him back in this team. Now, he picked up the injury, of course, in that first leg against Kairat Almaty, which took place near the end of August. Now, after that game, I think Brendan Rodgers was on record to say that he was expecting to miss Alistair Johnston for around 12 weeks, which is, of course, roughly 3 months. So, if you use general logic here, end of August, 3 months on from that, that would mean the end of November, which is a long time to be out. If he's expecting to be back sooner than that, hopefully, we might see him by the tail end of October or maybe even the start of November if they want to play it a bit safer. So that's maybe the kind of region we're looking at for an Alistair Johnston return. Of course, that's just me going off my own logic and working. There's nothing to actually suggest that will be his return. But good to hear he's doing well. Can't wait to see him back. We definitely miss him on that right-hand side of the pitch. I can't believe I'm giving this one airtime, to be honest, but I thought it was funny, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I seen it popping up on social media and people were having some discourse surrounding it. Raheem Sterling has been linked with a loan move to Celtic. Football Transfers went on to say that Brendan Rodgers is eyeing up a move for Raheem Sterling, and that he's a target, and Celtic would be apparently willing to pay around £50,000 of his wages on his £300,000 a week contract. Of course, this is absolute nonsense. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't, I don't know where it's came from. Steve Kay, never heard of the guy, and I don't want to start calling this perhaps fine gentleman out on the story, but it just doesn't even make sense. What purpose would Raheem Sterling give? I mean, number one, if he joined us in January, there's a very good chance we don't play much European football beyond that. Then who do you take out the squad to bring him in? And it just makes no sense. It doesn't match Celtic's recruitment methods. Certainly doesn't match our financial strategy. This is one I think we can all just look at and laugh. Even at that, Raheem Sterling seems finished. Wouldn't even want him if he was available. Some people might go, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't. I think his attitude stinks. I think that he looks worn out as a player. I don't think that Celtic should constantly reduce itself to be the retirement home or the last chance for failed English talent. Leave that to Rangers. It's nonsense anyway. I just thought it'd be funny to bring up. I can't believe this isn't. This is something that I would have expected to see before the window shut, and then I would have maybe been able to go, oh, right, okay, is there anything in this? But now, when the window's well shut, we don't. Yeah, it's just a lot of shite. Right, that does it for today. This has went on a lot longer than I expected. A lot of ranting, a lot of shouting, a lot of swearing. So, it's nearly the end of the week. Leave me be. Take care. See you next time.